Welcome back to Houston Newsmakers, where I'm joined now by Houston Controller Chris Brown, who has a very tough job on good days, but with a pandemic and economic hemorrhaging all around, the question is, how will Houston be hit? Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
What's the economic toll so far for Houston, and how can you possibly forecast what it might be down the road?
Well, it's a very difficult situation that we're in right now, Kimbrell, because we know that the whole world has been shut down, not just Houston. And we're assessing the economic impact that that's going to have here locally. The first indicator will be our sales tax numbers. We will see on May 6th the March sales tax numbers, and those will be the first indication of how deep this recession is going to go here in Houston. But we do know that we can look at oil prices, and those have been an indicator in past recessions. Just before beginning this interview, I think West Texas Intermediate crude hit $17 a barrel. So we're going to see it on two fronts. We're going to see the impact of a recession from the coronavirus, but we're also going to see an impact financially from the downturn in the oil economy here in Houston.
You've been forecasting, you put out a paper not long ago about recessions and how Houston might weather the storm. It's ironic that we're having to deal with that right now. What are the remedies to that once we hit this point where we are going to be in a downturn?
Well, that's right. We put out a stress test earlier this year, and we modeled some of the past scenarios. And looking at the worst case scenario, the 2008-2009 Great Recession, really we anticipated that we could see as much of a $300 million deficit, budget deficit in the future. As far as preparing for that, the best thing that we can do is plan for the worst and hope for the best. And like many private businesses are having to do right now, the government needs to reduce expenditures and try and build up cash reserves to weather this financial storm.
Reduce expenditures sounds to me like layoffs, cutting costs in that regard. Is it pretty much certain that the city of Houston is going to have to do that?
Well, we utilized several different things during the 2008-2009 recession. First and foremost was a hiring freeze, followed by furloughs. Then we cut departmental expenditures. We eliminated vacant positions. And as a last resort, there were some layoffs that were put into place. We'll, again, see how deep this recession goes as time progresses, and as we start to see some of those sales tax numbers coming in, we'll know kind of what we're dealing with and how deep we have to go.
When you make your projections, what's your role from that point? You look at it, you analyze it, you give it to City Council, and they decide what to do from that point on. How does that process work?
Yeah, we'll put our trends report together as part of this upcoming budget that will be voted on in May and has to be essentially approved before the end of June. What we'll do is essentially put projections forward on what we think revenue is going to be going forward, and that's going to be property tax, sales tax, fines and forfeitures, other franchise fees and things like that. Council and the mayor will then take that information and they will develop their budget. Once the budget is passed, every month we come to council and we give our independent assessment of how we're doing as far as expenditures and revenues, and if we need to make any adjustments mid-year.
The canary in the coal mine for our City of Houston folk will be city services that they might receive. You're going to work hardest to try to make sure that those services that people rely on aren't impacted, or at least impacted as little as possible?
Yeah, I think that's the goal. Obviously, we need to make sure that all the city services remain intact. The challenge is doing that in a tough economic environment, but there's a lot of levers that we can pull. I will say some good news in a month of nothing but bad news, that in this most recent iteration of the CARES Act, which is the federal relief bailout package for the coronavirus, there was included quite a substantial amount of money for municipalities. The City of Houston, my office worked with the finance department recently as this week to apply for that money. Looks like we could be eligible for a substantial amount of relief funding, and that will help weather the storm for the downturn in revenue.
That's good news in this month of bad news. We appreciate that, Chris. Thank you so much for what you do. We look forward to hearing more about the forecast and what kind of impact the city might have as a result of that. City Controller Chris Brown, thank you, sir.